Hey, good evening, everybody. I had to kind of do a little camera um, adjusting there. Welcome. I hope everybody's doing well on this Wednesday evening. Hello, and welcome back. And it's nice to be back. Good to be back. And this evening, I've got some things that happened in history in October, and I've got some feel good, positive news stories this evening. So it shouldn't be too bad this evening, and hopefully fall is here. Uh, Definitely in the weather, sinuses, colds, runny noses. So let's prevent that and take our vitamin C and get our stock up on soup now and things like that, and get the wood for the fireplace if you have one, stuff like that. So yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you for joining me and your support. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel here at lsfl, the number 4 letter U, and please subscribe. And any suggestions or for topics or anything like that. And we're continuing our Bible study uh, real soon. You know, we talk about what God has planned for us in our salvation through Jesus Christ and what the truth is. And things are happening as you see. Look around you. If you even watch your news, which I don't watch the news, you can see it all around you. So everybody talks about, I know even in church, because that's what we're supposed to do, is bring the word to the world for people to know the truth. Okay, well, my next Bible study is, what is Satan doing? We need to know our enemy too, because Satan is here to destroy, devour, and conquer, and take our souls away from heaven and the Almighty God. So we're going to talk about that, since I don't see it much. That what's Satan's plan? What is Satan doing in this world? It is definitely not God. That's for sure. God is love. God is all powerful. God is all light. Satan is darkness. And there's a battle for our souls. So we're going to be going over. We know what God is wants from us, and the blessings that he has for us, but Satan is completely opposite side, does not want that. So that's what we're going to talk about in the Bible group next time, is what is Satan doing? And we don't even realize it. So he's come to attack, and he's running out of time. Definitely running out of more time. So anyway, we'll be talking about that. And still working on merchandise. Yep, still working on merchandise and stuff. And you know what? I'm gonna raise this, and excuse me for the shaky camera work, because I want to try to get. Okay, I'm wearing the Blues. I'm from here in St. Louis. So yes, hockey season is upon us. You know, hockey season's upon us, which is cool. Yeah, hockey season's upon us. It's very cool, and yeah, looking forward. Been watching hockey already. We got the NHL here at home, and that's awesome. So I've been watching hockey now. You know, football. Yeah, after what I've seen, I'm not thrilled with football. I don't know if you're diehard. That's awesome. Good for you. More power to you. But for me, I'm losing more and more interest in football. And I'm glad the XFL is around. I really didn't watch much of the AFL, American Football League, but I know we got the XFL here with the Battlehawks. So hopefully they're get their next season here off and running to a better year and more teams join. So anyway, uh, that's pretty much it. Like this evening, like I said, we're gonna do things that happened this month in October in history, and I've got some positive news stories. So I'm glad everyone's here, taking care of yourselves and each other, and a lot going on, and Halloween, and we'll be talking about that, of course. That'll be a topic definitely before Halloween. Everything Halloween, I'm going to research some more if there's any new things going on or new places to add, things like that. So I'll research um, places, because one of the places is the scariest places in the world, or supposedly the most haunted. So I'm going to see if they've got any new ones or not and go from there. But um, it's great to be doing this, and it's great to be doing this. Really appreciate it. Um, Man, what a blessing. So, so we'll just kick off and get into it. And here's some things that happened in history. All right. I'm going to get to my favorite effects page that I usually use most often. All right. In 1901, Theodore Roosevelt renames the executive mansion the White House. I did not know that. In 1906, Carl Nessler demonstrates first permanent wave in a hair salon in London. Okay, perms have been around since 1906. Or it could have been even before that, done at home, but who knows? But this is in a salon in London. The first perms were done in 1906. In 1914, Garrett Morgan patents his safety hood device, which later would be refined into the gas mask. In 1950, 15, Woodrow Wilson becomes the first U.S. president to attend a World Series game. Hence, I believe the seventh inning stretch came from President Wilson, I believe, when he stood to stretch during the game, seventh inning. Everyone else got up, and it stuck. And it stuck. And the same year, 1915, the Ford Motor Company manufactures its 1 millionth automobile at the River Rouge plant in Detroit. And in 1916, Margaret Sanger opens first birth control clinic in the United States. Interesting. Sorry. The page got away from me. Come on. In 1920, construction begins on Holland Tunnel connecting New Jersey and New York City. And in 1922, the first woman FBI special investigator, Alaska Davidson. And the same year, 1922, the first Tom McCann shoe store opens on 3rd Avenue in New York, and the first automated telephones and Pennsylvania Exchange in New York City. In 1926, A. Milne's book, Winnie the Pooh, is released. I didn't realize 1926. Winnie the Pooh, the first book. I had no idea. Wow. Yeah. And sorry, this is jumping really far. And in 1927, The Second 100 Years, starring Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, is the first Laurel and Hardy film with them appearing as a team. And 1928 was the use of the iron lung for the first time. In 1929, JCPenney opens in Milford, Delaware, making it a nationwide company with stores in all 48 U.S. states. In 1931, Christ the Redeemer statue opened standing 98 feet on top of Mount Corcovado overlooking Rio de Janeiro, built by engineer Heitor da Silva Costa. Hopefully I didn't butcher that name too much. 1933 is the first synthetic detergent, Dreft, made by Procter & Gamble. And in 1936, Hoover Dam begins transmitting electricity to Los Angeles. In 1939, Albert Einstein informs FDR of the possibilities of an atomic bomb. Let's see. In the same year of 1939, BMI, the Broadcast Music is Incorporated, is formed. And in 1942, Abbott and Costello launch a weekly radio show. And in 1945, the microwave oven is patented in the U.S. by inventor Percy Spencer. So if the microwaves were even patented in 45, we didn't really see them in production like what we see now until in the 80s, I guess. I don't know, unless we're that far behind. Microwave oven, or it could have been different type, maybe, of oven. I don't know, but. And in 1947, the first telephone conversation between a moving car and a plane was done. In 1955, the world's most powerful aircraft carrier, the USS Saratoga, is launched. And in 1956, Giant, with Elizabeth Taylor, Rock Hudson, and James Dean, premiered. And in 1957, the other Everly Brothers single, Wake Up Little Susie, hits #1. And in 1960, a cyclone hits the coast of Gulf of Bengal. And the same year in 1960, Hurricane ravages East Pakistan. And in 1963, From Russia with Love, the second James Bond film with Sean Connery and Daniela Bianchi, premiered. And in the same year, Beatlemania is coined after Beatles appear at the Palladium. And in 1964, the launch of the Voskhod 1, and it was the first time 3 people are in space. And in 1965, the Beatles' Yesterday single goes #1 for 4 weeks. In 1966, the Rolling Stones' first LP is released, Got Live If You Want It. Same year, the Beach Boys released Good Vibrations. And the Jimi Hendrix Experience debuts. And in 1968, the first live telecast from a manned U.S. spacecraft from the Apollo 7. And the Beatles' White Album is released. And in 1968, same year, a 6.8 earthquake pretty much wipes out Australian town of Meckering. And in 1969, Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice is released. And it's the first time that 5 people are in space. And in 1971, John Lennon released Imagine. And Jesus Christ Superstar opens at Mark Hellinger, New York City for 711 performances. And in 1975, Saturday Night Live premieres on NBC with George Carlin as host, which I watched. I got to see it, and it was like completely different than the skit Saturday Night Live that I remember seeing. It was quite a bit different, and then it evolved and molded into, you know, uh, with the cast with Belushi and Aykroyd, Garrett Morris, Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin, Chevy Chase was original, and then they fired him. Bill Murray came on. Um, let's see who else. Rankin and Davis made a lot of appearances. Am I forgetting anybody? I don't think so. Um, I don't think so. Steve Martin was on a lot. I almost thought he was one of the cast members for a while, but he just made a lot of appearances on Saturday Night Live. So yeah, and then after the, I guess I would have to say after the um, Eddie Murphy cast, I stopped watching really after that. Um, after that, it was kind of good with Will Ferrell and what Adam Sandler, but I really didn't get into it as much as I used to. So in 1976, the Sex Pistols released their album with EMI. And in 1977, inventor Gordon Gould issues his first U.S. patent for an optically pumped laser amplifier. I never looked it up to see what was the significance of it or what it really did. And I probably should more often look these things up to see what it is. But an optically pumped laser amplifier, whatever that is. I don't know. I don't know. Don't know what that is. And Kiss, the rock group Kiss, releases Alive 2, which is supposedly they're coming to St. Louis here real soon on the end of the road tour, whatever. All right. In 1978, U.S. Congress approves dollar coin honoring women's suffrage campaigner Susan B. Anthony. And the same year in 78, Steve Perry joins Journey, the rest is history. And Sid Vicious is charged with murder of girlfriend Nancy Spungen, or Spungen. Sad story. I did watch the movie, Sid and Nancy. So a lot of speculation. Either they were high, it was him, or the dealer, or it was an accident. Who knows? But they were, I know they with the heroin, drugs, but who knows? In the same year, 78, 52nd Street is released by Billy Joel. And the first TV movie from a TV series, Rescue from Gilligan's Island. And in 1979, Wayne Gretzky, the great one, scores his first goal in his career. 1979. And in 1980, after playing 2 shows at the Madison Square Garden, Bob Marley collapsed in Central Park while jogging and was brought to the hospital. And in 1980, the first consumer use of home banking by computer by United American Bank in Knoxville, Tennessee is done. And there was 2 earthquakes that strikes northwest Algeria. And astronauts Popov and Ryumin set space endurance record. They were in space for 184 days. And in 1982, a 5.8 earthquake hit Cairo. And in 1985, Little Richard is injured in a car accident. And in 1986, Phantom of the Opera premiered in London, once again by Andrew Lloyd Webber, which was Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman. And a 7.5 earthquake hit San Salvador. Crazy. A lot of earthquakes. And in 1987, George Harrison from the Beatles, Got My Mind Set on You, was his third #1 hit and his last by any of the four Beatles. And in 1987 was the first military use of trained dolphins. And in 1989, Penthouse magazine, came out with a Hebrew edition. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this stuff up. Now, okay, is it just the words are in Hebrew? What did the girls look like in the magazine? As you know, because Penthouse, of course, is an adult magazine like Playboy, and but in Hebrew. So did they block out all the lady parts? Or is this all the words were in Hebrew? Interesting. Sorry, but I just thought that was interesting. Hey, 2000, the musical Peter Pan, starred Kathy Rigby, is filmed before a live audience. That one I tried to watch and couldn't watch. I don't know why. Those of you who enjoyed it and liked it, that's cool. Okay, very cool, but for some reason I just couldn't get into it. So in 2016, Bob Dylan is awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for Literature. And in 2019, almost 1 million people in Northern California have their power cut by Pacific Gas and Electric to prevent wildfires and high winds. Man. And in 1915, an estimated 25,000 supporters in a women's suffrage march on New York's Fifth Avenue, led by Dr. Anna Shaw and Carrie Chapman Catt, found the League of Women Voters. In 1916, Margaret Sanger opens its birth control. I already did that one. Sorry. 1923, Disney Brothers Cartoon Studio is formed, and the first planetarium opens in Deutsche Museum in Munich. And in 1924, U.S. President Calvin Coolidge declares Statue of Liberty a national monument. And in 1933, the 20th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution goes into effect, which president term begins in January, not March. Did not know that, or don't remember that in history. And in 1933, Albert Einstein in the U.S. as a refugee from Nazi Germany. And in 1939, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, starring James Stewart and Jean Arthur, is released. In 1940, The Great Dictator, a comedy starring Charlie Chaplin, is released. And in 1945, women in France are allowed to vote for the first time. Took them long enough, didn't it? The heck. In 1949, the first NASCAR Sprint Cup is raced, and Red Byron won. And in 1950, the first edition of C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is published in London. And in 1951, I Love Lucy with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz debuts on CBS. And in 1952, Charlotte's Web by E.B. White is illustrated by Garth Williams and is published. 1954, Hurricane Hazel makes landfall in the U.S. and North Carolina as a Category 4 hurricane. Man. And the same year, Texas Instruments announces the first transistor radio. In 1955, the University of California discovers antiproton. Sorry, I didn't look that up either, what antiproton is. Sorry about that. Like I said, I should probably look these things up, like the laser pump and whatever, the optical. But yeah, antiproton. In 1956, Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne and directed by Michael Anderson, starring David Niven and Cantinflas, premiered in New York. 1957, Jailhouse Rock, starring Elvis Presley, premiered in Memphis, Tennessee. And Damn Yankees closes at 46th Street Theater in New York City, 1,022 performances. And in 1961, the film adaptation of the 1957 Broadway musical West Side Story was directed by Robert Weiss and Jerome Robbins, starring Natalie Wood, is released. And in 1962, U.S. launches Ranger 5. It missed the moon. Yeah, oops, it missed the moon. And in 1963, the Beatles record I Want to Hold Your Hand. In 1964, My Fair Lady with Rex Harrison and Audrey Hepburn premiered in New York and won Academy Award for Best Picture. And in 1965, the Gateway Arch here in St. Louis, 630 feet high, is completed here in St. Louis. 1966, LBJ signs a bill creating the U.S. Department of Transportation. And in 1967, Hair, the musical, premieres on Broadway. And Walt Disney released The Jungle Book film. And in 1968, Bullitt, starring Steve McQueen and Jacqueline Bisset, is released. And in 1969, Rod Stewart joined Small Faces. And in 1971, the world's first arcade video game, Computer Space, developed by Zygi, first demonstrated at the MOA show here in the US. And the same year, 71, John Lennon and Yoko Ono record Happy Christmas, War is Over. And in 1972, Creedence Clearwater Revival broke up. Yeah. Bummer. And Chuck Berry, My Ding-a-ling, hit #1. And in 1973, Congress authorizes the bicentennial quarter, $50 and dollar coin. Let's see what else. Ringo Starr releases his music Photograph. And in 1973, Queen Elizabeth II opens the Sydney Opera House. 1975, A Chorus Line held record longest running Broadway show of 6,137 performances, premiered in Broadway. And in 75, the Supreme Court rules teachers could spank their pupils after a warning. Some states, I don't think that was ever changed, to be honest with you. I think in some states, they just don't follow they don't do it. But 75. And in the same year, Soviet orbiter Venera 9 becomes the first spacecraft to orbit Venus. 1977, Debbie Boone, You Light Up My Life, #1 for 10 weeks. And in the same year, 77, the plane chartered by rock band Lynyrd Skynyrd ran out of fuel and crashed in a wooded area near Galesburg, Mississippi. 6 are killed, including band members Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, and Cassie Gaines, and their manager Dean Kilpatrick. Sad, sad day. I remember, it being in the paper, and my mom was reading the paper in the kitchen, and she goes, "Michael, look at this. Lynyrd Skynyrd." And yeah, being, know who they were in 77. It's like, oh my, read it to me, and yeah, wow. In 1978, the Police is their first U.S. concert at the CBGB's Club, where a lot of the New York bands like Ramones, New York Dolls, and Talking Heads, and played. Very famous place. But the Police played there for the first concert, 78. And in 78, Bobby Orr scores his last career goal, and they were playing the Red Wings. In 1980, Geffen Records released their first album, Donna Summer's The Wanderer. So, 1980, Geffen. Wasn't she with Casablanca? If someone wants to, I don't know why I thought she was with Casablanca, so maybe she signed with Geffen in 80. 1982, NASA launches the RCA-E. In 1983, IBM PC DOS version 2.1 is released. 85, Shuttle Columbia carries Space Lab into orbit. In 1987, the Great Storm of 1987 hits France and England. 1989, the U.S. 62nd manned space mission Atlantis V is launched. 1990, Dances with Wolves, Kevin Costner, Mary McDowell, premiered in Washington and won the Best Picture. It won Best Picture. And in 1991, an earthquake hit Uttarkashi, India. It was between a 6.1 and 7.1. And in 1992, Gilligan's Island TV pilot is filmed in 64. It was first shown. And a 6.6 earthquake hit Columbia. And in 1995, the Columbia 18 is launched. 2001, NASA's Galileo spacecraft passes within 112 miles of Jupiter's moon. Interesting. And Donnie Darko is released. I think one of the coolest movies ever. Most bizarre, I don't know what it is, but very, very interesting movie. Well acted. I think just the whole thing was just a sci-fi trip, a great one myself. That's like, for me, I don't know about you, but a 2 thumbs up, definitely. Definitely. In 2003, China launched the Shenzhou 5 for their first manned space mission. And in 2014, a working human intestine is generated in a laboratory from stem cells. And in 2015, U.S. scientists from the University of California find evidence life on Earth may have begun 4.1 billion years ago, 300 million earlier than they thought. And in 2019, the first all-female spacewalk by Christina Koch, Jessica Meir, outside the International Space Station. Very nice. Very nice. So that is some history, things that happened in October. That happened in October. Very cool. Very cool stuff. October is just, oh, thank you for all the birthday wishes out there too. Thank you very much for all the birthday wishes. Appreciate it. Um, really appreciate it. Thank you. I kind of, as I get closer to 60, I guess it's time you stop. You kind of stop counting. I don't know about you. Yeah, it's like, hey, look, it's another birthday. I'm getting closer and closer. So, thank you. All right. Excuse me. I've got some news stories. Just positive. I stay away from the negative stuff. Stay away from all this negative news you see. We need more positive. I'm sick. That's why I don't watch the news. I look it up myself to know what's going on. So anyway, ocean water is transformed into affordable fresh water. Engineers from MIT and China are collaborating on a groundbreaking project aimed at converting seawater into potable water using an innovative passive device inspired by oceanic processes and fueled by solar energy. The research team unveiled plans for an inventive solar desalination system. The system takes in seawater and harnesses the natural energy of sunlight to initiate the purification process. The device's unique design facilitates the circulation of water in swirling patterns reminiscent of a large-scale thermohaline circulation found in the ocean. The circulation, combined with the sun's radiant heat, causes water to evaporate, leaving the salt behind. And the resultant water vapor is then condensed and collected as pure, safe drinking water. The leftover salt is continually flushed out of the system rather than accumulating and causing blockages. And the engineers project that when the system is upscaled to the size of a compact suitcase, it could generate approximately 4 to 6 liters of drinking water every hour and remain operational for several years before requiring maintenance or replacement components. At the scale of efficiency, the system could provide drinking water at a cost lower than tap water. Very cool. Let's see what else was in the news. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. Go back. And 40 people lift a bus to free a man trapped under a wheel. I should say 40 angels that God provided to lift a bus off of a man. Yeah. A young man narrowly escaped a life-threatening situation when he became trapped beneath the bus. Despite the harrowing circumstances, he miraculously, well, it was a miracle because God was watching after him, emerged with only minor injuries, thanks to the collective effort of around 40 individuals who came together to form the rescue. The 18-year-old found himself pinned beneath the tire of a bus's rear axle after a mishap while attempting to catch the departing bus at a local stop. The quick response of the bus driver, who promptly halted the vehicle, coupled with the assistance of approximately 40 people, both passengers and bystanders, led a feat that, when we would put our minds to it, we can do so much, and definitely God, I think, like I said, you know, it's just not a coincidence, or it's just not, God was looking after this young man. And they managed to elevate the right side of the bus to free the young man from it, and recounted by the authorities. And despite the frightening ordeal, the young man sustained minor scrapes, bruises, and an arm injury. Wow, that's, man, very cool. And Bhutan announces milestone achievement in snow leopard numbers. Bhutan, the Himalayan kingdom known for its commitment to environmental preservation, has reported a remarkable 40% increase in the population of snow leopards. The snow leopard, often referred to as the ghost of the mountains, has been facing a perilous decline in numbers across its range due to habitat loss and poaching. Shame on, where's my, yeah, God created, and we just wipe it out, and shame, but hey. So anyway, and this has stood as a beacon of hope for the leopards. And the presence of 134 snow leopards has been confirmed by the Bhutan National Snow Leopard Survey. And it represents 39.5% increase from the country's first survey back in 2016. And when 96 individuals were counted using 310 camera trap stations, the survey found an overall density of 1.34 snow leopards per 100 kilometers squared. Whatever that, sorry. Which was comparatively higher in the west than in central and eastern Bhutan. Very cool. Let's see. I used a different computer. So, okay. And I'm going to move back up. Move back up. And African rhino population is surging, and they are increased the first time in a decade. The African rhino, the white rhino. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, this got weird. The way this, I'm using a different computer. So African authorities have reported a remarkable increase in rhino population. And this was according to the latest estimates. There are approximately 23,209 rhinos across the continent at the end of 2022. And it was a 5.2% increase compared to the previous year in 2021. A combination of protection and biological management initiatives have resulted in an overall tally of 6,487 black rhinos, and it's up 4.2% from 2021. White rhinos are around 16,803 compared to 15,942 in 2021. It's an increase of 5.6%. And African Parks announced the purchase of the world's largest population of privately owned white rhinos. The nonprofit conservation organization plans to rewild the rhinos to a safe and well-managed protection areas across Africa. Very cool. And a delivery man leaps from a bridge to rescue a drowning woman. A food delivery rider in Hangzhou, China, risked his life to save a drowning woman. And Peng Qinglin was gripping the rail of the Exing Bridge, which spans the Qiantang River, before she leaped over 40 feet into the water. The 31-year-old delivery rider swiftly swam toward a distressed woman struggling in the river, reaching out to grasp her arm and guiding her toward what appeared to be a mountain ladder. And they got a video of that a police officer confirmed that the woman survived the incident and was currently under observation in a hospital. Man, angels everywhere. Angels are everywhere. And I don't know if this woman attempted suicide or was an accident, but still, someone to do that is awesome. Well, people, you'll never hear that on the news. That's a sad thing. That's what I try to do, something the opposite of everything in this world that's negative and your 4D news, death, destruction, depression, and division in this country. And please pray for Israel. Pray for God's church. And like I said, there's a lot of things going on in this world, but don't be misled. Don't let it get to you. Don't let the world dictate on how you live. On how you live. Step away from the world and live. We're being controlled. There's only one in control, and that's God the Father in heaven and his Son Jesus Christ, who came, died on the cross, shed his blood for our salvation, and made things right. So anyway, thank you for joining me, and I'll be back very soon, and we're going to have a Bible group. We'll talk about what Satan is doing. So we need to be aware also, because it's a battle for our souls, for eternity. So anyway, any suggestions on topics? I'll be covering Halloween, and I believe I got cold and flu. Again, we'll touch base on. We'll touch base on that. Cold and flu, since it's that time. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate the support. Like I said, still in the works, merchandise, still in the work. Soon, it will happen. It will happen. It'll happen. Thank you again for the birthday wishes. And October is just a great month, I think, especially for weddings now. October is the new June or whatever for weddings. It's beautiful, beautiful month. So anyway, bundle up at night, and it's getting close to that time. I think someone says we might even get snow in this November. So who knows? Be interesting. So anyway, thank you for joining me again, and the support. Subscribe to the channel, the YouTube channel. I gave up on Twitter or X, whatever it is. Gave up on that. Somehow I got suspended. I don't even know what I did. Who knows? Sorry. I don't know. I might try Facebook again. Who knows? But anyway, thank you very much, and God bless. And I look forward to our next talk and visit. It's great. So thank you very much. Good night, and have a great rest of the week.